Okay, I'm back. I haven't been feeling that well, but it is what it is. All right, I don't know who's watching the Netflix documentaries, but I'm all about it. There's one called The Perfect Neighbor, and it's about, I'm reading it because I don't want to get it wrong, the name, but wow, I didn't realize they did the Tiger King and The Last Dance, and I feel like they have a lot of documentaries. And some of them are good, some of them are not. There was one, I think it was called the Hollywood Con Man, or I don't know what that was. That was not worth talking about, really. But this one in particular, The Perfect Neighbor, is crazy. Like, I remember seeing this story, I think it was on 2020 or 60 Minutes, or I don't know, years ago. And this neighbor, okay, there's a picture of her. Yeah, I do it old school style. With all the AI out there, I'm just keeping it real. I think it's a lot just of laziness, but also sick of seeing everything so perfectly put together. Fake, kind of. All right, so this woman, her name is Susan Lorings. Lorings. Something like that. She does not like children. I Okay, so she lives in Florida. She lived in Florida. She was in a neighborhood that had a lot of children. A lot. There was just kids everywhere. And I don't know if she owned her place or she rented it. Some of the neighbors said they think that she owned her house, her own, not a house, it was like a little duplex type of thing. And she had, it was cute. It had like a little, you know, like a little area for her to put plants, a little yard kind of thing. And there was a lot of grass area in between all of the duplexes, single story. And there was a lot of room. And you would think, because of that reason, there would be less problems. There's a lot of space in between the houses, in other words. And the neighborhood has a lot of children, just everywhere. But they're not like on top of each other. So there's a lot of grass area, a lot of room for them to play. If I was a parent, that would be kind of the perfect neighborhood, just to hang out. Because you could see them, the parents could sit out front and just hang out with each other and watch their kids play. And it's better for them to be outside playing than inside on the computer or on their phones. And so they were having a lot of fun. They like to play football and skate and skateboard, and they just had a lot of fun. And most of the neighbors, actually all of the other neighbors except for Susan, seemed to be okay with that. And she shouldn't have lived there. It was the worst place you could have possibly lived for someone like her. She works from home. She likes to be very quiet and do her own thing. Like I said, she had like a little patio yard type of thing with a sliding glass door. So she could have had her little oasis. That's what I would have done. I just would have put tons of plants up and just made my own little, heaven. My own little version of heaven. So she had lived there for quite a while, and she's had problems with the neighbors for quite a while. She would yell at the kids a lot. Get off my lawn, that type of stuff. And so the cops were called a lot. Like, they knew everyone by name pretty much. Like, oh, hi, Susan. What's going on? That kind of thing. What's going on now, Susan? And all of the parents would come over and they would say, well, she's yelling at my kid, and or that kid did this and this kid did that, and they're really loud and I can't handle it and I can't focus and I have a headache. And she was just not in a happy place, physically or mentally. And so I don't know if the kids would do it on purpose. I don't know what they were thinking, but I feel like they might have been like poking a bear. They would come over and they would be like screaming and yelling and running around and leaving their stuff all over her lawn, which wasn't her lawn. She did not own that property in front. You know, there just happens to be a lot of grass over there. If I was one of the kids, I would have stayed the fuck away from this bitch. I would have been like, oh, hell no. She is insane. Let's not play anywhere near here. Because I think growing up, I grew up outside. I was an outdoor kid. I didn't like to sit at home watching TV. And everyone in my neighborhood was like that. And if there was that one person in the neighborhood, there's always that one person, we would stay away from them. We would say, okay, you know what, let's walk around and just make sure to be quiet. But also our parents told us, our parents were like, you keep quiet. That one right there, she's off her rocker. Stay the fuck away from her. And maybe they wouldn't use stay the fuck away, but they would say stay away from her, you know, or him or whoever. But these kids, they were just having fun. They were being kids. And so Susan would have arguments with their parents all the time and say, keep your kid in line. Your kid left this here and that here, and they're leaving a mess, and they don't listen to me, and all of this stuff. And the parents were like, well, they're our kids, they're not yours, mind your own, stay out of our fucking business, in other words. And they worked, you know, there were hardworking people that lived there. And so the cops were there quite often. It's just such a sad story. It really is. Okay, so everything kind of built up and built up and built up. Something was going to happen. It was about to go down. And you could kind of feel the tension. And I remember, as I said, watching this somewhere else. There was another channel that covered it, and I think it might have been 2020, I'm not sure. But Susan had a gun. Susan had a gun. And one of the moms, which was A.J. Owens, okay, A.J. had heard from her son that Susan had taken his tablet. And Susan, there was a lot of back and forth with the cops that night. Susan had called and said, these kids are, you know, all over the place, and this and that happened, and one of them tried to put a dog in my car, and I think she threw a skateboard. She said she kind of threw the skateboard, and then I don't know what, she doesn't remember anything about the tablet. But one of the kids is like, she took my tablet. And so AJ walks over there to have a talk with her. And she was really pissed because she probably had just spent, 8-9 hours, maybe longer at work. She gets home and her kid's all upset saying, my tablet's gone. And they're dealing with the same woman that, as I said, should not have been living around children at all. She should have been like in a retirement community without kids. I don't know what she was thinking staying there. I don't know, maybe she couldn't afford to move. I don't know. All I know is if I felt that way, you know, if I couldn't handle the kids and the screaming, I would have done everything in my power to get the hell out of there. And so AJ walks over there, and I could see how she would be intimidated by her. She's not having it. She's a protective mommy. She's a mama bear. She loves those kids. She has 4 kids. And she's pissed. So she walks over there, and she's a bigger woman. She's just like, AJ's like banging on her door. Let me in. And bang, bang, bang. One of the neighbors said they heard her banging, but it was only a few times, maybe 3 times at the most. And she calls Susan calls 911 and says, she's banging on my door. I don't know what to do. I think she wants to kill me. And she claims that AJ said, I'm going to kill you, bitch. I'm going to fucking kill you. You fucking, fuck you. And so she shot through the door. She hung up the phone from 911. She said, get here now. Get here now. This is what Susan said to 911. She claims 10 minutes had passed. It may have been maybe 5 minutes, the cop said later, that interviewed her. He said, it was like 5 minutes at the most. And she goes, but it felt like 10 minutes, and I was scared for my life. There was no back door. There really wasn't anywhere for her to go. The sliding glass door of the back door was right next to her front door, which is a really bad design. You should always have a back door, always have a way out. So AJ was yelling at her, bitch, fuck you, get the fuck out. You're fucking with my kids. I'm sick of you yelling at my kids, and where's the tablet and all this stuff. And then suddenly there's shots. She shoots through the door. And then she calls again, I think, and says, hey, you know what, so the boy that lost the tablet, or who knows what happened with the tablet. For some reason, it was never really brought up again. You could see him on camera at his house saying, call 911, call 911. She shot mom. And he was just freaking out. It was so sad to see him. And he's like, oh my, he shot mom. And he just can't even, he's beside himself. Like, he's freaking out. And so soon, the whole neighborhood's freaking out. And, oh God, it's so sad. Okay, so finally the cops show up. And sure enough, AJ's on the ground and she's not moving. And there's blood everywhere, and everybody's freaking out. And they're saying, get up. Come on, AJ, you got this. Get up. And the cops are trying to resuscitate her, and nothing's happening. And so then they show the cops on body cam going to see what happened with Susan. And so they're like, come out with your hands up, all the stuff, open the door slowly, put your hands in the air, walk out. And so she comes out and she's totally calm, which is crazy. Like, I would be freaking the fuck out. So she comes out and she's like, yeah, what's going on? I called you and this is what happened. And I don't know what, she just was whatever. And so we're going to have to take you in. There's been a shooting. We know there's a stand your ground law, but she didn't enter your house. And she said, yeah, but I felt fear for my life. She wanted to come in and she was very angry and she said she was going to kill me. So they take her, they put her in the back of the cop car. They're trying to resuscitate AJ. And they lose her. So sad. So one of the cops goes up to the husband, I should say the baby daddy. I don't think they were married anymore. I think they were divorced. I'm not sure. Everything is so not clear in this story because there's so much chaos. The kids are everywhere. They're just kids everywhere. If I was the cops, if I was on that scene, and the cops, they did the best they could. They really did. They showed the times before that they were out there. And the cops tried so hard to be sympathetic towards everyone. They said to the parents, like, okay, you know what? I get it. It's loud. The kids are just everywhere. She's trying to sleep or, whatever. And she thinks this is her area. So they were trying really hard to kind of keep the peace with everyone. But when the shooting happened, they should have forced everyone, all the kids especially, to go to the other side. They should have had, first off, there wasn't enough reinforcements out there. They should have had them like blocked off. They should have put up tape. I mean, all of that. So it was kind of just not handled well at all. And so all the kids were just around watching all of this happen. It was very traumatizing just for me watching it, but I can't imagine being a child and watching this go on. And so the cop told the baby daddy, the father of the kids, she's gone. Like, we couldn't save her. And so he had to go tell the kids. And it was like, like the most heartbreaking thing I think I've seen. It was, so he had to sit there and say, Mom's not coming home anymore. And everybody just loses it. And I just felt so sorry for the son, especially the boy, both of them really, both sons, because they felt responsible. They thought it was their fault. And they said if we weren't messing around, she would still be alive. It's our fault. We got her all worked up. They were really, really upset. And so they took Susan in. And of course her name was Susan. You know, like, it's like, that's such a typical Karen, like Karen, Susan. It was that kind of person. So they take her in, and she doesn't know she killed her yet. But she didn't seem to care that much about what she did. She seemed a little too calm. And they're like, look, you just killed, she's dead. She's gone. And she's like, what? Fuck. Okay. And she puts her head in her face, in her hands, and she just she's in shock. And that was no emotion, no crying, nothing. She was just like, whatever. Why would she? Okay, this is what doesn't make any sense. I don't think she intentionally killed her. Why would she do that? Out of everyone in the neighborhood, there's more people, there's other mothers and parents that have told her off. It wasn't like she lured her there. You know, she didn't know she was going to come over and knock on the door and bang on it and say, come out, I want to talk to you. And I don't really blame Susan as far as this goes, just as far as this goes. I wouldn't have wanted to talk to her either if I did all of that. You know, if shit was going down, I wouldn't have answered the door. I wouldn't have talked to her. I just would have called the cops and just said, hey, you know what, come over. This woman's very upset. But she says that she thought that she was going to kick the door down and, like, kill her. But she had a gun. So I don't know what was the intent? What was the motive for her killing her? I think it was a complete disaster. I'm not saying she's, like, innocent in any of this, by no means, not at all. She was stirring that fucking pot. She was stoking that fire. She was poking bears. Like, she was a total nightmare neighbor. But I don't think she intended to kill her, because there's no motivation for that. Why would she do that? The storytelling wasn't in a way where we would think that she would have a grudge against this woman. And how did she know she was going to show up on her doorstep? And whatever happened with the tablet, it was never really brought up again. And so this poor woman died over really nothing. It was ridiculous that she shouldn't have died. Her kids should have a mom. And Susan should be off somewhere in a retirement community with other people like her age, and no kids. It was just a perfect storm of fucking craziness. And it shouldn't have happened. It was sad. I just look at those kids and they're traumatized for life. Like, there's no coming back from that. But what's the little hope was, I think they were having a memorial service, and the son said that he, like, experienced his mother telling him that everything's going to be okay. Like, you know, a spirit came to him. And he got this little smile on his face, and he felt like she was with him. And it was just such a beautiful thing. You know, he knows his mother loved him. You know, she loved those kids. Like I said, you poke the bear, you know, she's going to... I personally, if I was her, I wouldn't have gone over there. What I would have done is I would have done the same thing. I would have called the cops and said, this Karen... they called her Karen. The whole neighborhood called her Karen. This Karen took my child's tablet and threw, or whatever, threw something at him. And can you come over here and handle things? But she was mad. She was so mad because she worked so hard. She probably worked very hard for that tablet. Like I said, I don't know what happened to the tablet. I don't know. But I do know that sometimes we react. We don't think about it. We just react. What good could have come of her going over there? A fight? Like, were they going to... What if she opened the door? What if she didn't have a gun? I don't know. Like, this woman was 61 years old. What good could have come of that? So, she didn't deserve to die. No. But did Susan have a motive to kill her? I don't think she did. Except reacting to what's going on. But also she started it by yelling at the kids and doing what she did. So, like I said, it was something bad was going to happen. I feel so sorry for everyone involved. Susan, girl, I don't know why she pulled that gun out. And who knows where she was aiming. You know, we don't know anything. We just know her side of it. What she said. We don't have video. We don't know how many times CJ banged on that door, or if she did say, I'm going to kill you. We do know that stand your ground does not count in this situation. And the people wanted justice. And they got justice. So Susan got sentenced to prison. And I think it was for like 25 years. Let me look. I just want to make sure. 21 minutes. Yeah, 25 years. For killing AJ. Did I say CJ? I'm sorry. It was AJ. So the whole thing is told on body cameras and videos. So you can't really make anything up. You get to see the raw stuff. But you also miss out on a lot of things as well. People are saying that it was a race thing. I don't think so. I'm one of those people, and I'm going to get shit for this. I'm one of those people that I don't believe that it had anything to do with the color of their skin. They were a black family. There was white people in the neighborhood as well. I think if it was white kids, there were some white kids mixed in. I think it didn't matter if it was children. If it was a woman, if it was a white woman that came to her door saying, I'm going to beat your ass, bitch, blah, 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 I think the same thing would have happened. I think her thing was kids and the disturbance and just being a bitch, just being a Karen, just being one of those people. So I don't think it's a race thing. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but I've studied it. I've looked for what happened to the tablet over and over again. I've watched, this is the second show that I've seen on it. And like I said, I don't think that was what it was. I don't think it was a target. I don't think she did it on purpose. I think she was in the moment and she shot. And she was not, she could have killed a kid. Who knows who she could have killed. Everybody was reacting. It was very reactionary and it was really sad. So if you want to watch a good documentary, but there's a lot of holes in the story, this is a good one, but it's sad. If you're wanting to cry, then this is the one. I was crying like a baby when I saw those kids, hearing for the first time that their mom is not coming home again. That's it. It's over. She's gone. All right, everyone. Peace out.